Is this a psycho killer or just a girl being cute? This was the impossible mix that made Isabella Guzman internet amours in 2013. Isabella went into her mother's bedroom with a large knife. Her stepdad couldn't react fast enough. After Isabella came out of the bathroom, she was grinning and covered in blood. It was worse than any horror movie ever made. 18 years old, Isabella murdered her mother in cold blood. The internet found this news shocking, but the people who know her were not as surprised. You see, Isabella had a dark history of mental illness, abuse, and red flag that led people to think that murder could have been prevented. But was that in fact possible? What led Isabella to do the absolute worst? And has she changed today?
I'm not mentally ill anymore. I'm not a danger to myself.
This is the full story of Isabella Guzman. Today's story began in a very small place called Aurora, Colorado. Colorado is a stunning place and its rural town are closer to natural splendor it's famous for. Needless to say, it attracts a lot of out-to-dark people as well as young families such as Guzman's family. Isabella Guzman was born on June 9, 1995 to Robert Guzman and John Minho. When she was 7, her parents broke up, but she went to grow up with both of them. They were civil, spent a lot of time together, even had a photographic studio together, which they continued to work at after their separation. However, Hi Moy moved on with her romantic life and got remarried to a man named Hi Moy. Isabella didn't like this one bit. She kept telling her mother that she was doing a bad job at replacing her actual dad. Hi Moy had to explain to her that Ryan was not a replacement dad, just her new partner. Hi Moy was still working at the photographic studio with her ex-husband but all three adults in Isabella's life struggling financially. Taking Isabella on vacations or buying her new clothes was off the table. So growing up, Isabella felt increasingly isolated from her schoolmates. Investigators looked into Isabella's childhood and it painted a pretty dark picture. She would never smile or spend time with her parents. Isabella was visible unhappy to all those who knew her young or old. However, they were never understood Isabella's resentment towards her mother. Hi Moy was working 12-hour shift to make enough money for her daughter, but Isabella had always hated her mother. After Robert left home when she was 7, Isabella had frequent arguments with Hi Moy. After a few years, it gets so bad that Hi Moy sent Isabella to live with Robert, hoping the two of them would get on better. But it was not much different with Robert either. By the time she was a teenager, Isabella has been passed on between her parents several times. Guys, that didn't sound like parenting 1 of 101 to me. Then Isabella started making clear that she didn't want them. She was only 10 when she started refusing their invitation to go to a photographic studio with them. Isabella's school situation was not great either. Her grades were not catastrophic, but she would continuously get into trouble, talk back to teachers, and felt unwelcome. When she was 18, just week before her final exams, Isabella dropped out of school. This generated a brand new fight with her parents. Isabella didn't want to hear any of that. After throwing a few nasty words at her parents, she shut down and they assumed the fight was over. But a few weeks later, Isabella will do the unthinkable.
Isabella Guzman. She's accused of stabbing her mother 79 times.
With breaking news in Aurora this morning, police are now looking for this woman. They're calling her a suspect in a deadly stabbing overnight. A woman was found dead in a home on South Lima Street.
In the late hours of August 28, Isabella waited for Hi Moy to go to bathroom to have a shower there. She imbued her with a large kitchen knife. Ryan heard the blood-chilling screams of her wife and hurried upstairs, but Isabella has locked the door. Ryan literally watched as Hi Moy blood oozed through the bathroom door into hallway. Then his stepdaughter unlocked the door and came out with a knife in her hand, staring right into his eyes. She climbed down the stair, opening the front door and disappeared in the night. Poor Ryan tried to perform CPR on his wife as blood was pouring out of her, but it was too late. Within minutes, the police were at the family house.
The female is going to be armed with a knife. She's an 18-year-old female. It says mixed race. I think it might be with Asian. She's wearing a pink tank top, shorts, one shoe.
Hi Moy was pronounced dead at the scene. all 79 step wounds were at her head, her neck. Her daughter had almost cut her throat off. There was also a baseball bat in the bathroom, and the police concluded Isabella has also beaten her mother with it before or after stabbing her. By the time everyone got the house, Isabella was already gone together with her knife.
Dale, when we first got here just after 10 o'clock last night, we talked with police. They said they were waiting on a search warrant before they could go inside. When I got here at 4 o'clock this morning, I did see a few officers coming in and out, so it looks like the investigation has started. I'm going to step out real quickly for you, show you what's happening here. This is the house in question. This White House here, you can see the yellow tape blocking off, and they've also got the road blocked off as well, and you can see several squad cars still in the road.
Finding Isabella was urgent. She could have been in psychopath state, which means she could kill other people too. The Aurora police asked for help to Denver police, who came with helicopter to search for Isabella, but it was local people who spotted Isabella in parking garage, less than half-mile away from her home. The next day, a witness called the police saying they had recognized her from the news.
So just to give you a little bit more about the arrest, now cops say that when they got the call to go to the parking garage about a body, they went to the car, no one was inside. They bring out a canine, they start to do a search of the garage. Now cops believe that the teen girl saw this coming, saw the canine doing a search, and actually tried to leave and escape and walk out of the garage, but officers were able to recognize her and take her into custody.
She was arrested on the spot. Shockingly, she still thought she could get away with murder, even with her shirt covered in her mother's blood. Isabella Guzman was charged with first-degree murder, and she had already turned 18 a few months back. She could have been tried as an adult. People want the harshest penalty for a person who had killed her own mother in such a gruesome way.
Just the whole thought of leaving your mother naked and bleeding and wet on a bathroom floor, your mother, the thought of that, I can't even think about it. When I look at this girl's face, I'm absolutely physically repelled.
The first step was over. Isabella was in jail, and she couldn't harm anyone anymore. The second step was harder. Now the police has to understand Isabella's background and what led her to down the darker path a daughter could go. As the detectives walked around about the months led up the murder, they uncovered a story even darker that Isabella's constant misbehavior. After she dropped out of school, her fighting with Hi Moy escalated to unprecedented level. There were tantrums and fit of rage every single day, and her disrespect towards her mother was shocking even to Ryan, who had known Isabella for so many years. On August 27th, Isabella yelled at her mother and spit on her face. Yes, on her face. Then Isabella wrote her mom an email saying, "Simply, you will pay."
It's going to be very difficult for defense attorneys to argue, oh, this was heat of passion, because she wrote her mother hours ahead of time, you will pay for this. You will pay. And the mother was so afraid that she called police. She called her husband, that she was really afraid.
Indeed, that afternoon, Hi Moy called the police. The police officers arrived at the home and had chat with Isabella and her parents. The police then asked her parents if they wanted Isabella arrested overnight, but Hi Moy protected her daughter and asked the police to close the case for now. Less than 24 hours later, Hi Moy could be stabbed 79 times by her daughter.
In real life, there are a couple of different things that might be going on. So number one, you have to wonder, is there any drug or alcohol involvement?
Drugs or alcohol that might alter consciousness. He said the second possibility would be acute psychotic reaction.
That means a reaction based out of stress, and the person kind of loses contact with reality.
According to him, there is no way that Isabella had not gone through a traumatic event even in her childhood.
Now, something happened to this young lady in the past, and it was extraordinarily traumatic and stressful, and that she never got the help she needed. And so it just kind of all spilled out like a volcano all at that moment, and that rage was focused on her mother.
As more experts analyze Isabella's past behavior, The running theory was that Isabella was suffering from untreated schizophrenia. She preferred to be by herself rather than with her parents, even at the age when children are dependent on their families. After her constant arguments with her parents would go from 0 to 100 within a minute, Isabella's parents want to believe that she would get better in their eyes. Her resentment stemmed from their poverty and inability to afford what other kids her age had. They believed that when she grew up, she would understand their struggles and appreciate them for working hard to make ends meet. But Isabella never really grew up in the way they were hoping. Her mental health issue deepened and deepened throughout her teenage years until she reached a breaking point.
But when it gets to the point where you as the parent or caregiver are so afraid you are locking your doors, you need to call the police, and sometimes, I hate to say it, but oftentimes it means you have to have your child arrested. That sounds cold, I know that. But if you are that afraid and you know your physical safety is at stake here, you have to take drastic measures.
The most dramatic measure Isabella's parents took was to call the police and report physical abuse. One day before Young Moy's murder, it's heartbreaking that everyone thought the situation was sorted and it wouldn't repeat just hours before the worst happened. That everyone, the police officers, agreed not to arrest Isabella if her parents were content with letting her stay under their roof. But this event happened so close to the murder investigators, even wondering if it was not the catalyst for the murder itself.
That certainly could have been a catalyst. It could have been something that made Isabella even more angry than she probably already was. But we don't know what that conversation was between law enforcement, her mother, and Isabella. And not unlike domestic violence cases, when the police come to the door and they say to the wife or to the husband, we'll make the arrest, oftentimes the other loved one says, well, maybe it's not so bad. So we don't know yet what took place in that conversation.
As Isabella told the cop that moment she decided she was going to kill Young Moy, Isabella was convinced that this was not her mother, but a woman named Cecilia. Voices in her head and told her Cecilia had to die if she was to save the world. If this is true and not just Isabella's desperate attempt to shift the blame, then she truly was suffering from untreated schizophrenia. When Isabella started talking about dimensions of her family came to light, Young Moy and Brian were Jehovah's Witnesses. This is a branch of Christianity that is known for its strict rules, and they don't celebrate Christmas and birthdays. According to Isabella, she was by her parents throughout her childhood, and their obsession with religion were one of the main sources of their frequent fights.
I was abused at home by my family for many years. My parents are Jehovah's Witnesses. And I left the religion when I was 14, and the abuse at home worsened after I quit.
While the couple really were Jehovah's Witnesses, not evidence of abuse was found. However, during Isabella's trial, a doctor officially diagnosed her with schizophrenia. Isabella Guzman pleaded innocent by reasons of insanity. In short, she was so mentally unwell at the time of murder that she didn't know right from wrong. Everyone shocked that judge accepted her plea and sentenced her to go to Colorado Mental Health Institute of Pueblo. She will be there until doctors decide if she is well enough to leave. According to Isabella in 2021, she is well enough.
I was not myself when I did that, and I have since been restored to full health. The fight with my mom was terrible, and I was injured in the process. I have the scars on my hands. I don't know if you can see or not. I'm not mentally ill anymore. I'm not a danger to myself or others.
During the same interview, Isabella talked about something truly disturbing. At the mental health hospital in 2015, she was sexually assaulted by an employee in the closet.
He asked me if I wanted to go in there and look through to get some clothing, so I did. The other patient left, and he went in there and shut the door behind him.
Isabella even reported this issue to police, but somehow the case didn't progress even after this happened twice more.
I was afraid that if I didn't do what he wanted, that he could ruin my life.
Isabella is seeking prosecution as well as working hard to get out of the mental hospital. Meanwhile, something pretty crazy happened on the internet. You know how TikTok can make anything into a trend overnight. Well, 8 years after Isabella killed her mother, her many grimaces during her trial made their way on TikTok and they become worldwide sensation. Do you remember Avamek's song Sweet But Psycho? Yes, it seems to go hand in hand with Isabella's sweet but weird face. Avamex herself was called out of the lyrics of her song. Some people argued she sent the wrong message that it's okay to be psychopath as long as you are sweet. But when you look at Isabella weird trial faces knowing she had untreated schizophrenia, it's not longer funny. Some people thought it was funny that this cute girl was behaving so weirdly at her own trial or that she had killed her mother, but others saw this controversial aspect of it. Some people appreciate her court pretty aesthetic, completely avoiding the topic that she stabbed her mother 79 times. That didn't sit well with many others. The biggest issue the people pointed out was that the trend almost made it look like it was okay to be schizophrenic, fantastic psychopath and kill your mom as long as you are pretty. Also make fun of people with several mental health issues only adds of stigma surrounding mental illness. We live in an era where stigma should slowly disappear, not be reinforced. Eventually, the trend did die down as people on TikTok and Twitter started calling out those who posted Isabella reels. In June 2025, Isabella was granted permission to leave the hospital for therapy sessions. While it's unclear when or if she will be released for good, she seems to be working hard at getting better and she regretted killing her mother despite their lifelong. Thanks for watching, guys. What you thought on Isabella Guzman case? Do you think she is well enough to join society again? Let me know in comment, and before you go, make sure to like, subscribe and hit the bell button. See you next time and keep yourself safe always.